Hello, welcome to World of Microbes. In our last video, we explored the incredible world of cells. We drew a hard line between prokaryotes, like simple bacteria, and eukaryotes, the complex cells that make up you, me, and every tree in the park. We established a fundamental rule of biology: the cell is the basic unit of life. If you have a cell, you are alive. You can eat, grow, make energy, and reproduce. But what if I told you there is something out there that completely shatters that rule? Something that isn't a prokaryote, isn't a eukaryote, and doesn't even have a cell at all. Right now, as you watch this video, there are an estimated 10 nonillion viruses on Earth. That's a 1 followed by 31 zeros. If you stacked them end to end, they would stretch for 100 million light-years. Yet, for over a century, scientists have been locked in a fierce, unresolved debate. Are viruses actually alive, or are they just incredibly complex, malicious pieces of biological software? Today, we are going to look at the evidence, explore the cellular hijacking mechanics, and let you decide which side of the debate you stand on. To understand why viruses confuse scientists, we first need to look at what it actually takes to be considered alive. In biology, we use a specific checklist called the traits of life. Let's see how a standard cell, like a humble bacterium, stacks up. 1. Cellular organization. A cell has a membrane, cytoplasm, and internal machinery. Cells get a check mark. 2. Metabolism. Cells consume nutrients, break them down, and generate energy in the form of ATP. Cells get a check mark. 3. Homeostasis. Cells actively regulate their internal environment, keeping things stable when the outside world changes. Cells get a check mark. 4. Reproduction. A cell can copy its own DNA, split in half, and create a new version of itself. Cells get a check mark. Cells are completely self-contained, self-sustaining factories. They have the blueprints, the workers, and the power plants. Now, let's look at a virus. Does it have a cellular structure? No. It has no cytoplasm, no ribosomes, and no cell membrane. Does it have a metabolism? No. A virus outside of a host cell doesn't consume food, generate ATP, or use oxygen. It just sits there, completely inert. Can it reproduce on its own? Absolutely not. If you put a virus in a sterile bowl of sugar water, it will sit there forever until it degrades. So, case closed, right? Viruses are dead, lifeless particles. Well, are not so fast. The moment a virus comes into contact with a living cell, everything changes. It wakes up. You see, a virus is essentially just a minimalist packaging job. It consists of 2 main parts: a strand of genetic material, which can be DNA or RNA, wrapped inside a protein coat called a capsid. Because it lacks its own biological machinery, it operates like a pirate ship overtaking a megafreighter. Here is exactly how a viral infection works in 4 steps. Attachment. The virus uses special protein keys on its surface to trick the receptors on a host cell's membrane. It essentially knocks on the door and pretends to be a delivery guy. Entry. Once the cell lets its guard down, the virus injects its DNA or RNA inside, or gets swallowed by the cell entirely. Replication and assembly. This is where the magic and horror happens. The viral genetic code takes over the cell's nucleus and ribosomes. It forcefully tells the cell, stop making your own proteins. Start printing copies of ME. The host cell unwittingly becomes a factory floor manufacturing thousands of viral capsids and viral genes. Release. Once the cell is completely stuffed with newborn viruses, it bursts open, a process called lysis, or the viruses bud out through the membrane. The host cell dies, and thousands of new viruses go out to repeat the cycle. When a virus is inside a cell, it exhibits the ultimate trait of life, evolution. Viruses mutate and adapt to their environments faster than almost any cellular life form on Earth. So, if something can evolve, parse on its genetic code, and technically reproduce, even if it relies on a host, how can we say it's not alive? For decades, the line between cells and viruses was clear because of size. Cells were big, viruses were incredibly small. You can see bacteria under a normal school microscope, but you need a massive, expensive electron microscope to see a virus. Until 1992, scientists studying a pneumonia outbreak in England found what they thought was a strange new bacterium living inside an amoeba. But when they finally sequenced its genome in 2003, they realized they had made a shocking mistake. It wasn't a bacterium. It was a virus. A monstrously huge virus, which they named the memavirus. To put this into perspective, a standard influenza virus has about 8 genes. The memavirus has 1,200 genes. That is more genes than some actual, living cellular bacteria. Even crazier, scientists later discovered pandaroviruses and pithoviruses. These giant viruses don't look like geometric robots. They look like giant, complex cells. They even possess genes for basic metabolic processes, the very thing we claimed viruses don't have. The discovery of giant viruses blurred the neat boundary line between the living world and the non-living world. They forced biologists to ask, are giant viruses cells that evolved to lose their machinery, or did simple viruses evolve to become more like cells? Because of these contradictions, scientists today are moving away from a simple yes or no answer. Instead, they are proposing a third option. What if we are looking at the virus all wrong? Think about a butterfly. Is a butterfly just the winged insect you see flying around? No, the caterpillar and the chrysalis are also the butterfly. They are just different stages of its life cycle. Some biologists argue that the viral particle, the tiny capsid we see under the microscope, isn't the actual virus. It's just the seed or the spore. The true virus is the infected cell state. When the virus takes over a host cell, that entire hybrid system becomes an active, living organism dedicated to making more viruses. Furthermore, viruses have played an undeniable role in the history of life. About 8% of human DNA is actually made up of ancient viral remnants left behind by infections that happened to our ancestors millions of years ago. Some of these viral genes are now essential for human survival, like the genes that allow women to develop a placenta during pregnancy. Without viruses, complex cellular life as we know it might not even exist. So, let's return to our ultimate question. Is a virus alive? If your definition of life requires a self-sustaining cell that eats and breathes, then viruses are just complex, elegant organic machines. But if your definition of life focuses on the persistence of genetic information, replication, and the power of evolution, then viruses are the most successful, minimalist life forms on the planet. Ultimately, nature doesn't care about our neat human definitions. The boundary between chemistry and biology isn't a brick wall, it's a beautiful, blurry spectrum. And viruses sit right in the middle of it. Now it's your turn. Which side are you on? Are viruses alive, or are they just biological rogue code? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. In our next video, we are going to look closer at how cells protect themselves from these invaders by diving into the cell membrane and transport systems. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, drop a like if you learned something new today, and I'll see you in the next one.